Good morning. Welcome to our English lesson today. I'm Madam Valentine. And in our lesson today, we are going to deal with composition writing. A road accident is the topic today. But before we go into talking about a road accident, let's remind ourselves about basic composition rules. Like what a candidate has to do to come up with a good composition to earn good marks. So if we talk about basic composition rules, like what you should do as a candidate to earn marks. Number one is your handwriting. And why should a candidate have a good handwriting or write well? Writing well simply means shaping the letters of the alphabet the way they are supposed to be shaped. Now, as a candidate, you're supposed to write well, have a good handwriting, shape the letters of the alphabet the way they are supposed to be shaped, because you don't write this composition for yourself, but you write for the marker who will choose to award you marks or not give you marks. And 40 marks are free marks. You just decide if you want the 40 marks or you don't want the 40 marks. You writing a composition well, shaping the letters of the alphabet, is going to earn you these marks. So as a candidate, whether you decide if you want to have a good handwriting and write your composition well and get the 40 marks, or you decide if you don't want the 40 marks and throw it away. And then we have what we call number 2, punctuation. And then we talk of punctuation, we are talking about punctuation marks. We're talking about punctuation marks. And we're also talking about paragraphing. Paragraphing lies under punctuation. When you talk about punctuation marks, you should use exclamation marks correctly, question marks correctly, a full stop correctly. You use an exclamation mark, make sure the next word you write begins with a capital letter. You use a question mark, the next word you write begins with a capital letter. After using a full stop, the next word you write begins with a letter. And then paragraphing, you make sure that all your paragraphs are systematic. Like if someone is looking at your paper, the person can see the flow of your paragraphs. You make sure that your first paragraph is the smallest part of the composition. And also your last paragraph, which is the conclusion, is the smallest part of your composition. The conclusion of a composition, even if it is one word or 3 words, should be written on its own. If I'm writing my composition, let me say, for example, we are going to talk about a road accident. You write about a road accident, the introduction, especially if you've been given a continuation, you make sure that your continuation is not more than 5 words. Unless it is an expression or, let me say, a figure of speech, because there is no way you are going to cut a figure of speech. When it comes to the conclusion of your composition, make sure that even if the conclusion is 2 or 3 words, it is a paragraph on its own. You don't mix it with other paragraphs in the composition. That's why it's called a conclusion of a composition. And then you come to the number 3, title of a composition. Most pupils mess when it comes to the title. The title should be relevant to the topic you are talking about in the composition. If your composition is a road accident, and then what you write in the composition does not tally with a road accident, then that's what we call you have an irrelevant title. A title should always be written in capital letters, and it should be underlined. It should also be brief. Capital titles should be brief. If I say brief, I mean to the point, whatever you want to talk about. And then they should be underlined and underlined. Once you underline, make sure that the title is always written in capital letter. Always written in capital letters. Always written in capital letters. Now, the mistake that most pupils do when it comes to writing the title of a composition is some want to write this title with big words or big vocabulary, And then you realize that once you have this big vocabulary words or a word that you don't know the spelling, you end up having a heading in wrong spelling. What happens if you write your composition and then the title of your composition is in wrong spellings? Whoever is marking your composition just knows one thing: you have a problem with spellings. So if somebody is going to mark your composition, they are going to go in for the spelling mistakes, because one, you told the person you don't know spellings of words by coming up with a title of a composition that is in wrong spellings. How do you avoid coming up with a title that is in wrong spellings? Write a title that is brief. Write a title that you know the spellings. For example, I'm coming up with my title of the composition as a road accident. I have not said, instead of having a road accident, I can say a nerve-jarring ordeal, which is something very bad. But I avoided nerve-jarring ordeal because this is what I want to say. Not because I can't write nerve-jarring ordeal, but what if it is you as a learner who wants to write this composition and you want to write nerve-jarring ordeal instead of a road accident? Ask yourself this question: do you know the spellings of nerve and jarring? If you are not sure of the spellings of nerve and jarring, the best option to do is go for the other title that can suit the composition and you are well versed with the spellings, so that you don't come up with the wrong spellings, especially if it comes to the title of the composition. If a learner can have a good handwriting, a learner can know how to punctuate their work, a learner can know how to write a title. And if I'm talking about punctuation, I'm talking about your introduction, I'm talking about your use of question marks, I'm talking about your use of quotation marks. If you are in a position as a standard 8 candidate to punctuate your work, then you are in a good place, or you are in a good position to come up with a good composition. When it comes to the title, I said let your title be brief, let it be underlined, let it be written in capital letters, and let it be relevant to the topic you are talking about. Now, let's go and talk about a road accident. You keep this in mind. At the moment you want to write your composition, have the correct handwriting, shape the letters of the alphabet the way they are supposed to be shaped. Pay more attention when it comes to letters that look the same way when they are capital and when they are small. U, V, K, S, T, W. You pay attention. Make sure the capital letter is different from the what? The capital letter is different from the small letter. I for first person is always capital. It doesn't matter where it is being written, where it's written. Make sure that I for first person, if I say I for first person, I talked about pronouns yesterday, that's what I mean. I for first person is always capital. Make sure you don't have a dot, especially if it is referring to a person. I'm not talking about I in between a word, like let me say I have bad. No. This one is a small letter. But I for first person is always capital. It doesn't matter where it is coming in a sentence, in between the sentence or at the beginning of a sentence. I for first person is always capital. That's a mistake when it comes to punctuation that most people commit. They write I for first person and it is a small letter. Make sure that it is a capital letter. Now, let's go and talk about this accident. I said I'm having the heading of this composition as a road accident, because I said instead of a road accident, I can also come up with another title. I say it's an nerve-jarring ordeal. What does that mean? A very bad occurrence that happened. But I avoided nerve-jarring because I wanted to put this across. Always go for a title that you know very sure you are sure of the spellings, to avoid coming up with wrong spellings, especially if it comes for the title. Now, for every composition there must be vocabulary. What is the importance of having the correct vocabulary to talk about a certain topic in a composition? For example, if I want to write a composition about a wedding, then you should know the correct vocabulary. The man getting married is called a bridegroom. The woman getting married is called what? A bride. Now, you should know that a bride is the lady and the bridegroom is the man. Correct vocabulary. What happens if I want to write a composition about a football match? Then I should know that I pass the ball I pass the ball to my teammate, and then I should know that the opponent team tackles the ball from me. I should know that I'm not hitting the ball, but I should know that I'm dribbling the ball. What does that mean? You have the correct vocabulary for a certain composition. And the moment you have the correct vocabulary for a composition, a person marking your work knows you know what you're talking about. It doesn't matter if the composition doesn't have the expression, many figures of speech, but you have the correct vocabulary to describe a certain aspect of that composition, then you are in a good place to earn the marks. Now, let's talk about the vocabulary you can come up with in this composition. Number one is the traffic police. Let's say traffic police. Who are the traffic police? This is a police department that is in charge of traffic or vehicles on the or means of transport on the road. How are you going to use traffic police in this road accident? A road accident, if you are writing this composition about a road accident, then you realize that you can be a witness or you can be a victim. Now, this is what is going to happen. If the traffic police is a police department that is in charge of means of transport on the road. Now, how are you going to use traffic police in the composition? You're going to say, one of you, when you witness a road accident, then one of you is going to call 999 to alert the traffic police, who are going to give you help. And then we have number two, a pool of blood. Pool of blood simply means a lot of blood. It simply means a lot of blood. Now, pool of blood is a style of writing called hyperbole. What does that mean? Exaggeration. I don't think there is a lot of blood that can be a pool. But again, you use this in your composition so that the person so that you as a writer can make the person marking your work know that whatever you are talking about is a lot of blood. And then you can have a corpse. What is a corpse? Yes, a dead human being. So a corpse is a dead human. A corpse is a dead human being. Now, a dead human being is a corpse. How are you going to use corpse? How are you going to use corpse in your composition? You can say the sum of the victims of the corpses of some of the victims who had been involved in the accident lay strewn on the road. Now, if you say the corpse of some of the victims of the road accident, then the person is going to know that some of the people who are involved in that accident actually died. Then you have a pool of blood. I said a pool of blood is a lot of blood. How are you going to use that in your composition? You are going to say, if you are a victim, which means you have been involved in this road accident, you are going to say, I lay on the road in a pool of blood, writhing in pain and agony. What does that mean? You are lying on the road. You've been involved in an accident. You are on the road. Imagine yourself in that situation. You've been involved in a road accident, and then you are lying in a pool of blood, writhing in pain and agony. That's what happens when you have been involved in an accident. There's a lot of blood, and then you are lying on the road. Maybe you've not even gotten out of the car, and there is a lot of blood. And since you've been hit, then it means you are in pain and agony. And then we can also have the screeching of brakes. We can have screeching. Of brakes. So this brakes, noun, screeching of brakes. When a car is stopped abruptly, the sound a car produces when it is stopped abruptly is what we call the screeching of brakes. Is what we call the screeching of brakes. How are you going to use this in your composition? You can say, maybe you are a victim, let's say, or if you are not a victim, you are a witness to the accident. You say, your mother maybe had sent you to the market. Then out of the blues, out of nowhere, you heard the screeching of brakes. You heard the screeching of what? Brakes. And this takes us to the next, the screeching of brakes, and then shattering of glass. screeching of brakes, and shattering of glass from the road or behind you. If you are walking and then you hear the screeching of brakes, say that is the sound produced by a vehicle that has been stopped abruptly. And then shattering of glass is the sound produced by glass when they break. Now, how are you going to use this in your composition? You simply say, if you are a witness to this composition, you can say, maybe you've been sent by your mother on the market, or you are in the countryside looking after your grandmother's goats, when all of a sudden, let's say where you are looking at, when you're taking care of the goats is near the road, then all of a sudden, what do you hear? You say, I heard the screeching of brakes that was followed by the shattering of glass from the road. Now, what if you are a victim in this composition? You are a victim in this composition, which means you've been involved in an accident. You simply say, maybe you are in this vehicle that is being driven at a high speed. We can say supersonic speed, or at a neck-breaking speed. And then, all of a sudden, you hear the screeching of brakes as your vehicle gets in a head-on collision with another vehicle. And then the screeching of brakes is followed by what? The shattering of glass. And then we can have number 5, we can have passerby. Who is a passerby? A person walking along the road. How are you going to use passerby in your composition? Passerby comes in need when a road accident has happened. These are the people who are going to call the traffic police. These are the same people who are going to try and give first aid to the people who have been involved in the accident. So while you are using passerby in your composition, if it is their plural, make sure you talk about it in relation that these people are offering help, or these people are the one coming to your aid when you have been involved in an accident. And again, you realize that you as a victim, or you as a witness can also be a passerby. You as a witness can also be a passerby. Now, let's talk about expressions to use in this composition. Expressions to use. Now, expressions to use when it comes to this composition, I'm going to post the expressions to use in the WhatsApp group, so that, and then I'm going to tell you how to use the expressions. But before I do that, let me give you like 4 or 5 expressions to use when it comes to this composition that are going to be applicable anywhere you write the composition. Number 1, you can say the drivers. You can say the driver's hair. Let's say this composition, if you want to write the composition, you can be a witness or you can be a victim. Now, if you are a victim, it means you are going to be knocked over by a vehicle, or you are going to be in a vehicle that gets involved in an accident. And if you are a witness to this, if you are a victim to this type of, if you are a victim in this composition, then you are going to witness the accident take place. As a writer, you are going to choose the side from which you are going to write this composition. How are you going to choose the side from which you write this composition? It depends. You arm yourself with your pointers. And if I say your pointers, what I mean is, if I want to write this composition as a victim, how many expressions do I have? How do I know how to write how do I know how to bring out this composition so that I am a victim in the road accident? Do I know how to come up with the correct flow of the composition? Do I have a captivating introduction to my composition? Because an introduction of a composition talks so much about Alana. If you come up with the correct introduction of a composition, then the person marking your composition knows you know what what you are doing in the composition. But if you come up with a flat beginning or a flat introduction, if I say a flat introduction, what I mean is your introduction does not have a figure of speech, or your introduction have wrong spellings. If it doesn't have flavor, like the first paragraph does not have flavor. No. So if you choose a side in this composition, either as a witness or as a victim, make sure you have your pointers. Make sure you know the expression you're supposed to use. Choose a side that you are comfortable. Choose a side that you are comfortable writing the composition. If you want to be a witness, well and good. How are you going to bring this composition out as a witness? You want to be a victim in this composition, well and good. But do you know how to write this composition as a victim in the road accident? Do you know how to write this composition as a witness in the road accident? In the road accident. But when when I'm going to give out the expressions, these expressions are used unanimously. You can use them as a victim, or you can use them as a witness. Just make sure you use the expression correctly. You can also go to topical composition and read the expressions about a road accident. If you don't understand anything, you can always ask.